Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and am inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work.
The blessing of having close female friends or couple friends and closeness with the sisters. It does require that where there are differences, you might overlook them, or where there are political differences, you're either really good-natured about it or you don't talk about it. But to have that be something that divides you and distances you, I just think is such a waste of the joy and the love that you get out of close family.
That was Nancy Elmore. Nancy is a native Californian, and she lives part of the year in Texas and part of the year in California with her husband of 50 years, Don. So since Nancy retired from her job as a hospital nurse executive, she has worked enthusiastically to provide educational scholarships for women and veterans primarily. But family and friends are the focal point of Nancy's life. And when she and Don aren't with their great-grandkids and grandkids and their greater family, they are living life with friends new and old. Well, I am thrilled to continue our new series on friendship with my friend Nancy. So in this conversation today, we talk about a variety of topics about friendship, but two areas in particular that we really focus on are what is it like to have lifelong friendships with your siblings? I've had the opportunity to witness Nancy's friendship with one of her sisters, and so we talk about that relationship as well as just her relationships with her siblings overall. And then the second topic that we talk about is being a praying friend. And Nancy has been a prayer partner, prayer friend for me for the last couple of years, whom I have just been so blessed by. And we talk about why does she do that? What does that matter to her, and how she doesn't see it as a burden, but she sees it as a calling and as a blessing. And I am just so grateful for her prayer life being inclusive of me and of my husband, Corey. There's a quote that I've read at some point in time from Ann Voskamp. She says, "It is best to consider anyone a friend who drives us closer to God." And Nancy is that for me. I have multiple other friends who definitely I would define as that and fit within what Ann Voskamp is saying. But Nancy has just been such a faithful prayer warrior for me. And I am so grateful to have her come and share with us and open up about friendship in her life and what that looks like. So thank you so much for listening in to today's conversation with Nancy. Nancy, thank you so much for joining me today for this conversation for Courage Becomes Her. I'm really happy to have you with me today.
Oh, thank you. I'm probably not as happy as I am to be able to talk with you and to see you face to face, really.
Yes.
So thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh my gosh.
Although it did cross my mind that Laurel might be getting desperate for people to talk to that
Not at all. Not at all. No, I am so excited to have this conversation. Yeah, no. Oh gosh. Well, we're going to talk about friendship here in a moment, but before we do, let's get to know you a little bit. So tell us, where is home?
Home for me is in two places. It's in the Central Coast of California. And Don and I, my husband and I, grew up in Southern California and have lived here since we actually retired in 2002, which we are very blessed to retire young. And then the last 3 years, we've bought a second home in Texas. And we live there about 7 months out of the year. And so we not exactly bi-coastal, but we're coastal slash south.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and escape the hot, hot heat and
Yep,
come to the coast. I love it.
exactly. Yeah.
So wonderful. That's great. All right. What has made you laugh or filled your cup in the last day or a few days or so?
Well, we're in the California home, and we have three great grandchildren, and they pretty much always make you laugh when you're not, crying hysterically because they're all running in different directions and give up on housework. I mean, it's a wipeout here. And the 1 year old's just incredibly adorable, and the 3 year old is so smart as well as the 8 year old. But they just fill our hearts and make us laugh. They're just so much fun, and it's such a joy, such a treasure to have that.
I love that for you. That's a
Hmm.
pretty special season in life.
Yeah, it is.
All right. How about your love language and your Enneagram?
So my Enneagram is a 3, and which when I did that, I thought, okay, that was no surprise to me. And I'm kind of a project person. I always have
Yes,
been
you are.
in life, and big projects. I don't know why, but I don't ever. I get an idea and I just think, why not do that, and take off on it. And so, whether it was in my career or after, that's just kind of who I am. And I think that showed up when I did that Enneagram assessment,
For
showed up pretty
sure.
strong.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely are one of the most productive retired people I know.
No, thank you.
You are
True.
constantly have amazing things going on. So,
Yes, it's declined quite a bit in terms of my energy, but yeah, I never sit around for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. How about your love language? Do you know what your love language is?
I probably don't know what that is.
Okay. I wonder. I'll have to think about that one of what I think yours might be. All right. I'll put that one in the back of my head for a moment. How about best movie or show that you've watched in the last year ish?
Um, so I don't I I don't really watch movies. I don't go to movies. We watch them at home.
Yeah.
But I've watched some good shows that are just hysterical. And I got hooked on Yellowstone the first time around when everybody was raving about it. And Donna and I tried like 3 episodes, and I'm like, I don't get it. And so I guess later, when I got a little bit more into sitting staring at my iPad, I started it, and I completely hooked on that, and sad that they're going to quit. I feel betrayed. And humor, I liked Schitt's Creek. I
Yep.
binged that. I binged all of The Office. So I think comedy for me,
Yep.
and,
Yeah.
and some drama.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good.
Hmm.
Good. All right. What's a current obsession of yours in any genre?
So oddly, because I can't eat gluten, one of my obsessions right now is bake. I bake artisan sourdough bread, and
Oh,
so
wow.
I started and the kind where you don't use a yeast. It's the actual um, the fermented starter that
Wow.
makes
Yeah.
the bread work. It's really a 2 day process to get a loaf of bread.
Huh.
And so you feed the yeast and you let it ferment and test it, and I'm so obsessed with it because basically the chemistry, you take salt, water, and flour, and that's it.
Hmm.
And you end up with those beautiful loaves of delicate tasting sourdough bread. And it lasts longer than
Okay.
it doesn't dry. It doesn't, like, I'll make a loaf and cut it in half and just you store it in the Dutch oven that I make it in, and it lasts fresh for a week. And
Wow.
but the fun part is that every loaf, it's all about the process. It's all about the lifting, the the bread dough and not really kneading it, but just lifting it and folding it.
Okay.
And when it gets to the right point, then, putting it in the pan and cutting it. And there's always a panic right before. There's every time, 100% of the time, there's something that got totally screwed up. And I'm like, it didn't work. It's a failure. Put it in the oven, bring it out, and it's gorgeous. So
Wow. Oh,
yeah, it's
that's
an
great.
obsession because it just takes a lot of time. And I think that's why I like it. I like the challenge of it.
All right.
I like the bread, but I can't eat it. So,
Oh, that's wonderful. And
yeah.
clearly, because of the pandemic, so many people were trying to learn
Right.
how to make
Right. Yeah.
sourdough. So, all right.
Mhm.
What was the first concert that you ever went to?
I was trying to think about that, and I never really went to many concerts, but it was funny that what brought to my mind was that when I was first dating and I was still in high school, I was taken to the Coconut Grove in Los Angeles at the Ambassador Hotel, which is no longer there. I think that's the hotel Bobby
Wow.
Kennedy was shot at, I
Huh.
think. And it was a nightclub, and I saw Ella Fitzgerald. And I
Oh
was so
my
young and on my
goodness.
first date that I didn't even just realize how gorgeous the music was. And I was more
Wow.
thinking about how to be perfect on a date,
Yeah.
but thinking back on it, that was a super fun experience.
Wow. Oh, that's
Mhm.
incredible. Yeah. Isn't
Mhm.
that interesting that in the moment, like sometimes we just don't recognize like how monumental something is. Or
Right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Last one. What is a book that has transformed your life?
So I'm not a reader. I'm constantly appalled when I look at your reading and think, how? Because you're so busy. But the one that really transformed my life was the one that I sent you by Kenneth Boa. I pulled it out here. It's the Handbook of Spiritual Growth, and
Yeah.
just really fascinating, and pulled so much of scripture together in a way that can help you develop spiritually. And it's because it's biblically related, you can just read it over and over and
Yeah.
constantly have new revelations. And it truly changed me.
Yeah. Yeah. That is an incredible, incredible book. So I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that you told me about it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, friendship. We're talking about friendship, and I think it's funny that you think that you were, at the bottom of my list of people to ask, because really you weren't. You had been at the top of my list, and for a couple of reasons in particular that we're going to talk about. First one is because I've had this just wonderful privilege to watch you and your sister Betsy
Mhm.
interact, and the friendship that you have had, at least in the 8-ish years that I've gotten to be around the two of you. And it's just been so beautiful to
No.
watch your friendship and your relationship. So
Mhm.
so I want us to talk about that, and we'll talk about a couple of other aspects of friendship. But let's maybe start there, because even though I've been around and have observed, I've never really asked questions about it. So I'm curious. I may be starting like, have you guys always been close, or has maybe more in the latter years of life, has that changed something for you?
I don't think it's changed in terms of the love and the friendship, but it's changing with age because, we talk about different things now. But I came from a family with six, I was one of six children,
Hmm.
five girls and a boy, five girls first, and then the boy. So in our in our family system, the relationships between the siblings kind of varied in a couple directions. There was one grouping of five girls, and then a
Mm-hmm.
brother, and then five, for that poor guy, five extra mothers, and he was the youngest and adorable. And then there were two groupings in the sense that there were the first three of us, Karen, Betsy, Nancy, and we were definitely parented way different than the last three, David, Patty, Bill.
Mm,
And I think that coming from a large family and still very intact with all of them and husbands too,
mm,
um, It's different when you're not raised with just one sibling or two. You're part of a big group. You have no expectation of having anybody really care what you want individually, you know.
Hmm.
And I think that helped create lasting friendships. We did so much together growing up. We relied on each other. The younger ones learned from the older ones,
Hmm.
and and then also, another thing I think that's missing in society today, but what is foundational, is that we all came home for dinner every single night. There was never
Hmm.
TV back then at the dinner table, and truly just sat and talked. And
Hmm.
I think that really makes a difference in how lasting relationships are. So because I'm in the first three, Karen, Betsy, Nancy, and Karen and Betsy still lives in California. We've, geographically been closer, but also a blessing with Betsy and Paul is that they're people that no matter what you've got going on, they're like right there. How can we help?
Hmm.
And that's largely, I would say, why you know Betsy so well, is if
Yeah.
anything's going on, she's like here, very
Yeah.
helpful servants. And then personality wise, just love her. She's funny. And so it's really just always been that she and Paul in particular have been part of our social friendships.
Yeah.
One of the oldest sister moved to Washington, and so during her married life and child rearing and teaching, just didn't see Karen as much. Um, and then the last three were their own grouping. So, but I would say we're equal friends with all my siblings, but definitely Betsy and I have been together most.
I love that. Yeah, you guys, you just complement one another so beautifully. And that's part of what I have enjoyed so much about,
Oh,
watching
thank
you
you.
and being around the two of you
She
together.
would probably say the compliment is that I give orders and she does her best to try to help. But, can't get around your nature, right? So,
Oh, that's super funny. But it is, I mean, I think, in the times that I have been around you, that is a little bit of part of it, is that there is just that natural kind of symbiosis, if you will, between
mhm.
the two of you. And she doesn't mind just,
Yeah,
jumping in and
right.
helping.
Oh,
So
thank goodness. Yeah. I
that's
always feel
so
a little
good.
bad when she leaves. She's elderly, and I always feel like she has to crawl out of here because there's never been a time when we just sit. It's always something. When she leaves, and I'm
you,
like, I've done it again.
Yeah, you definitely do keep things going for sure. That makes sense. So, I mean, you talked a little bit about like the distance wise. So,
Hmm.
even, I mean, you've been 4 or 5 hours apart from one another for the last 20
Hmm.
years or so.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Did that
Uh-huh.
dynamic change at all from when you lived in Southern California as well?
No, no, just probably when we're together, longer visits. And so that's been nice. When they
Mm,
come up here, they'll be here for the major part of a week. And same when we go down there, usually it'll, be several days. So only in that sense, but, the telephone's our friend. So
yeah.
we're in touch with each other all the time. And so, yeah, we pretty much know what's going on in each other's lives all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Friends, thank you so much for listening to today's conversation with Nancy, and thank you for being a part of the Courage Becomes Her community. Did you know that we have listeners now in over 38 countries? Holy moly, that it just blows my mind. And that is because so many of you are consistently sharing episodes with women in your life. So thank you so much for doing that, and please don't stop. All right, let's get back to the conversation with Nancy. What, kind of backing up in time a little bit, how was it when you guys were in the child rearing years, if you will? Were you guys close then, or was that like life was so busy
Yes.
that you didn't stay close? Or
No, our kids, like, her boys are like our boys, and Scott's and our grandson Brandon are like her boys. I mean, so
mm,
we always have been very close in that sense,
mm,
and the nephews all feel the same way, which we're grateful for. But we're the same with all of we have, a lot of two nieces and a lot of nephews, but Betsy and Paul were just geographically the most close. And so those were the boys that we spent the most time with, but we traveled together. And so no, it did with other friends, that we've had lifelong 40 or more years.
mm.
When they were raising kids, we just kind of, everybody was focused on that. And
Yeah.
so we were a lot less closely connected back then than we are now, but not with my siblings.
Huh. Yeah. That's so interesting. And I think it seems like it's like the either that or the complete opposite, like with your siblings. Like either you stay super close or you just have
Mm-hmm.
completely
Mm-hmm.
disconnected lives from one another. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's so interesting that you have
Yeah.
stayed that way. But it does, I mean, you mentioned it a moment ago, it requires intentionality. And clearly
Mm-hmm.
you have
Mm-hmm.
been intentional about
Yeah.
focusing
Yeah.
on the relationship.
Yes. And our family is just really close, important to us, to
Mm,
Don and I both, his side and mine. So it is intentional, but it's also just a blessing and something that we want to
yeah.
do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good. What, just kind of maybe generally or specifically, as you think about like other women who may not be as close with their sisters, like, is there something that you would say either as like advice or recommendations to, if like someone's wanting to have a closer relationship with one of their sisters or siblings?
Mhm. That I think it's just such a wasted opportunity.
Mm,
That it's sad to me when other things, differences become more important than family relationships. And
uh,
now, whether you see kids, young people, and their parents, or with politics the way they are, creating distance over stuff like that, that's just so
mm,
unimportant. And um, the blessing of having close female friends, or couple friends, and closeness with the sisters. It does require that where there are differences, you might overlook them, or
yeah.
where there are political differences, you're either really good natured about it or you don't talk about it. But
Mhm.
to have that be something that divides you and distances you, I just think is such a waste of the joy and the love that you get out of close family. It's something I don't understand. I don't understand how, it's just nothing I've ever experienced, and I don't understand how people can let opinions sever ties. And
Yeah.
so I think that I would say, um, find a way to not allow that to happen if that's
Mm.
creating distance between siblings or relatives. Find a way to forgive each other for who you are and let one another be less than perfect,
Mm.
and look for the shared experience, the shared history that you've had together, and cherish that.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Good. Thank you so much.
And I think because I'm a prayer, and you and I have talked about that. I haven't had the need to like pray for my family in this sense, but with others where there is distance or some resentment or something, to pray for that person brings your heart
Mm.
close to them.
Mm.
And so pray
That's
for the
good.
person that's making you mad all the time, and God changes your heart for them.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, so
yes, he does, even if sometimes we don't want that to be the case.
right, right.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, perfect segue, because that was the other kind of main aspect of friendship that I wanted for us to talk about. And you just kind of alluded to it, is over the last couple of years, you have been the most gracious friend to me in just constantly praying for me and being one of those people that I can reach out to anytime,
Yeah.
every
No,
day,
thank you for
whatever the
that.
case, and ask
Hmm.
for prayer.
Hmm.
And I think there are a couple different aspects that I'd like to talk about, but maybe the biggest thing I think for me, and I brought this up with you, is it just astounds me that you don't see praying for me or praying for your other friends, your family, as a burden. And it feels like in our society today that, sometimes we view prayer as a burden. So I'd love to maybe just hear, like, your heart around that, of how is it that you don't see it as a burden to pray for others.
Well, I think for me, to intercessory prayer is just a high calling. And it's so perfect that we're given that gift of
Mm.
being invited to come boldly before the Lord with our prayers and knowledge that He hears those and that he will respond. And so whether we know all that a person's going through or not is irrelevant because God knows.
Mm.
But to me, the beauty of it is that you can take the time to focus and raise up another person and know that there will be a healing,
Mm.
that it will be heard. I mean, it's just a joy for me, and a privilege. And actually, we have our closest friends, Rick and Hallie, they're believers and believe very much as Don and I do. And so having another prayer partner and a best friend is just,
Mm.
um, I mean, you can't even describe the importance of that. That we pray for each other, we pray for one another's family, we share prayer requests that, as you're
Mm.
talking about, and you just have another person there that is always on your page with that. Um, it creates um, to pray corporately with others creates a new spiritual connection that's happening not here with us on this earth, but in a different level where voices are brought together in agreement. And it's just so cool to be a part of that.
Mm.
And one of the things that's been enjoyable for you in terms of how you've reached out with a group. In fact, I mentioned it to our home group in Texas that it's such a cool thing when somebody puts it out to believers, but who don't know each other. And yet we're
Mm.
sisters of the same kingdom.
Yeah.
And to be a part of something where people in different parts of the world are praying the same prayer with you for someone. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it would never be a burden to me because it's such a cherished opportunity that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. And it's such a gift, and
Mhm.
it's been such a gift and a blessing for me as the recipient. But it also is just so powerful when you know that you are part of something that is beyond you. So,
It is,
yeah.
and it's just so important for all of us. I mean, we all need it, um, what we don't need is pride, saying I don't need anything from others. We all need it, and
Mm-hmm.
um, we we can't be our best self without it. I don't think, not
Yeah.
without prayer, and
Mm-hmm.
to pray for others is just it's just a joy. I love it.
Mm, it's so beautiful. Well, thank you for that. And
Mhm.
you have said to me on a couple of different occasions, like, to basically get over my insecurity about asking for prayer
Oh,
and feeling
totally.
like
Yeah.
I'm a burden. And that has also been just such a gift for you to, say, no, I want to be doing this. So I think, yeah.
And you don't always see how the Lord uses you. And I've had times in my life where I'll just sit down and say something to someone just out of the blue, I just felt moved, and then they'll come back later and say, you have no idea how much I needed that word. So you're not intending anything, but the Lord uses you spiritually and boosts others, and then in the end boosts you too, because it's like, yay, that's so cool.
Yeah.
To see that, to be a part
cool.
of that.
I love that so much. You talked a second ago about your very longtime friend, Hallie, and who I've had also the pleasure to observe and kind of be a little bit a part of your friendship and watching your friendship. I mentioned in last week's episode about the nonprofit Degrees of Skill that you and Hallie and your husbands have started together. I'm curious of what it's been like to do something like that with friends, with longtime, lifelong almost friends. Like, how has that been as far as the friendship component of it?
So it's been great. Rick and Hallie and I all worked together as executives in a hospital, and then Don was an executive with LA County, and so I think when we retired, we still had the energy of now what do we do? And so out of many conversations and um, some leading towards a project and some just talking about the times, we decided let's start a foundation and help people with education. And I had done some fundraising with you, and so I had some experience there. And so Hallie was marketing at the hospital, which has been very helpful. And Rick was an administrator of a couple hospitals, and I was of nursing units. And so, in particular, Rick and I both have the same, like, if you get an idea, then let's just do it. Let's just go for it. And Hallie doesn't have that same jump off the end of the
cliff
plank,
dive in the deep end.
but she's absolutely the detail behind everything, and so is Dawn. And both of them can look at anything in writing, and Dawn in particular point out 6 mistakes that people like me never see. I see what I want to see. And so we just had the energy to do something, and got together and prayed about it and made it God's work, and we're just doing it, and it's very enjoyable. We don't spend a lot of time on it, but it goes in spurts. We get scholarship applicants. We really want to help people get jobs in careers rather that don't end up with a couple $100,000 in student debt if possible. So that's our main focus, and we have a lot of veterans, and so we want to help them. And so we just kind of keep it going. It's sometimes like a snail, and sometimes it has a little more momentum, but we just so much joy meeting people that we're able to help. And
I love it. Being on mission together as friends.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, yeah. So cool.
Yeah. And like-minded on it too. I mean, something will come up and we'll have an idea, and we're like, yeah, let's do that now. And so we get our spurts of energy, but the longer we're retired, the spurts of energy don't last quite as long. But yeah, we still love it, and it just couldn't be better. Doing something with a couple friends that you're sharing life with is wonderful. It really is.
I love that. Oh gosh, I love that for you. It's so special. Well, you constantly have inspired me over the last 8 years that we've known one another, and both watching your relationship with Betsy, with your relationship with Hallie, and then certainly, as we talked about, your just incredible gift to me of praying constantly for me and for Corey. So I want to know who or what is inspiring courage in you right now.
Well, besides you, because I'm amazed at how much you do, I truly am. Um, I've some of my new Texas friends, I would say,
Hmm.
just really um, how loving they are, and
Hmm.
I just love that. They're kind and your family immediately, and so yeah, I really love that. I have other lifelong friends in Southern California that we met the first day of nursing school back in 1976, and we've remained friends with them. And she and her husband both, just Scott and Jan, are just wonderful people, and we. I think we all inspire each other, but Jan's another one that's been up here multiple times for my projects, whatever they are. So
Hmm.
it's amazing I managed to get people who are willing to keep coming back. But yeah, women who have just made it through life and successfully. Jan went through nursing school and then was going through law school and met her husband there, and ended up getting married and raising a family, and been friends for years, and very talented woman. I just really cherish that friendship too.
Hmm. I know it's so lovely just to hear you talk about like making new friends in the season of life that you're in as a
Mm-hmm.
grandma, a great grandma. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think I mean, I have even within the last couple of months had a conversation with a woman who relocated and was having a hard time making new friends, kind of in her late 50s, and I think that that's an interesting and good conversation to be able
Mm-hmm.
to see, like, know that making new friends, when you're in your retirement years
Mm-hmm.
is definitely doable, definitely
It is,
possible.
and but you do have to make time for it.
Mm,
It can be easy to just be holed up in your house and do your little old thing, and I'm getting more and more where that is easy for me. But yeah, we have to go to this home group, and I have to it's in the evening, we're ready to just turn in, and but I just have to
mm,
do it because I get so much out of it, and I want those friendships, and I just think it's the best thing in the world, really. Friendships, it's I can't imagine living life alone. So
yeah,
it's important.
it
It's
is.
important, and you have to make it important in your life.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your wisdom and your sharing with us today. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. Yeah. I'll go say a little prayer for you right now, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you. So, Lord, I just thank you that I have the opportunity to come before you today with just such a special friend in Laurel. And I ask for a blessing on her work, and that more and more many women will be encouraged by that, and that she will be encouraged by the women that she meets, and just bless her work immensely and provide for her, take care of her, and keep her moving forward in courage. In the Lord Jesus' precious name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind. So
Mhm.
kind. I seriously had no idea that she was going to pray for me and for us at the end of that conversation. And I'm just having a hard time holding back tears. I want for each and every one of us to have a woman like Nancy in our lives who is going to God, to the creator of the universe on our behalf and lifting us up. And I am praying for you to have that woman in your life who will do that like Nancy does for me. It is a gift beyond gifts. It is the best thing ever. And if you listen to episode 39 with Corey, you know that the last couple of years of our lives have been hard, really, really, really hard. And having Nancy and other women in my life praying for us has made all the difference in the world. So I'm praying for you for that. So thank you so much for listening to today's conversation. I do also want to just let you know of 2 other episodes. I have had both of my sister-in-laws on previous episodes of Courage Becomes Her. So you can meet each of them and hear a little bit more about their lives and their stories. So Ashley is episode 8 from November 1st, and Jenny is episode 12 from November 28th. And I just love what each of them have to share. And I'm looking forward to an upcoming episode of sharing my sister with you as well. So that is a stay tuned for a future date for that. So thank you so much again for listening today and for joining as we kick off this series about friendship. I am really excited about the next few weeks and the women who are going to be joining us. We are covering all sorts of topics around friendship, of making friends, keeping friends. What do you do when there's difficulty in friendships? Just all friendships at different seasons of life, everything. So I'm really looking forward to these conversations and these women who are going to come and share with us about some of their journeys. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. What an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. Thank you so much for inviting me to journey with you. I look forward to being back with you next week, where we'll hear another story from a woman whom I love and am inspired by and look forward to learning from.